Accessing agent files. Brian Sovryn. Early 21st century anarchist. Creator and host of the podcast Sovryn Tech. By the year 2021, the show would be instrumental in the downfall of various conservative ideologies in the government, helping usher in an incredible time.
Hey, want to take a walk on the wild side and experience the bleeding edge of technology? Then get ready, because it doesn't get much more edgy than this. You're in for a wild ride. You're listening to Sovryn Tech. Tired of boring specials about history, science, and technology? Then get on your best headphones, because you might want to lay down for this. A Sovryn Tech special with the world's foremost anarchist technophile, Brian Sovryn. He has a huge, well, you know. And now, here's Brian.
That's right, the Golden Stallion here with you for a little special that we're going to release. Actually, I got quite a few to come out over the next few weeks. Going to be doing quite a bit of traveling, so I want to make sure you get your double loads, maybe even your triple loads of Sovryn Tech, as I like to give when I go away. This one is actually a re-release of, just recently, I was on The Rundown Live, which is a liberty-oriented show. And you can go to therundownlive.com to see more of what they do. And I mean, this is really, they get great guests. Of course, they had me, but, you know, not saying I'm great or anything, but but it was really great to be on. And I really enjoyed being on the show. I just kept running my mouth, and I said some of the crazier things that I think I've ever said in my podcast career. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. But they were great guys, both Mike P and Kristan, I believe. Just fantastic. I enjoyed their show. They've had Cassandra Rules, Derek J. Freeman, who I'm a big fan of, you know, all kinds of great people on there. So it's a real pleasure to have been on a show that's had such a stellar lineup of guests. But anyway, check it out. And, you know, I'm not going to come back at the end of it. I'll just let it ride right out into the music. And another special I'll have coming out is I got some kind of advanced footage. And I don't know who made this, but I got advanced footage of the talk that I gave, pretty much about decentralized systems in general at PorcFest. So that'll be coming too. But for right now, I want you to enjoy me and a couple of class acts, that being Mike P. and Kristan on the Rundown Live. Enjoy. And I'll catch you on the next regular episode of Sovryn Tech.
The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kristan H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
What up, guys? We are live here. It is Monday, September 8th, live here on the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. Mike Pachesney, Kristan Harris. Another Monday has arrived. That means another week to talk about interesting things with interesting guests like Brian Sovryn is going to be on tonight talking tech and Bitcoin and transhumanism and robots and all those good things we like.
Yes, robots, my favorite topic.
Isn't it funny, though, that we actually talk about robots quite a bit, and we talk about technology quite a bit on this show, because that's something that we feel, I guess, is really important to, spread the knowledge about, because not a lot of people understand the level of technology out there right now.
Well, and not only that, we live in amazing times where we have robots intricating themselves into our society daily. It's almost like the Jetsons. They have family robots like Jibo.
Yes, and we'll get into that. We're going to ask Brian about those things, and he knows a lot about tech. That's what he does. That's what he covers on the show, Sovryn Tech. So it'll be good to get him on in a few minutes. But before we bring on Brian, we should probably talk about the site, Kristan.
Sure. If you guys haven't had a chance to yet, make sure you guys head on down to therundownlive.com. There we have a plethora of information and new articles up daily. You can check them out and get up to date on what's happening in the news and around the area. Check it out. Share the articles on your Facebook, the Twitter, and all the different sources that you may use. It's pretty cool. We try to make it very versatile. You can access it from your cell phone, your tablet, just about every kind of application. You can get to therundownlive.com. Also, you can find many different ways to listen to us on the Rundown Live, including TuneIn, which is an app you can download to your cell phone or tablet and listen to us live 24/7. We have episodes running all day. Check that out. Add us on there. As well as on our website, you can check us out on the Rundown Live app. The app is available in the Droid Store, the iTunes Store, the Amazon Store, the Windows Store, and you can even download our past episodes and send us your show tips. So definitely check out the Rundown Live app. It's pretty cool. It's neat. And people do send us news tips almost daily now. I'm getting stuff from the Rundown Live app. So definitely download the app. If you miss our shows and can't listen to us live, it's a great tool to use. Also, if you're looking to support the Rundown Live, there's two ways. In fact, there's a new way, and we'll get into that after the first way. The first way is while you're visiting our site, check out Private Internet Access. It's a tool that Mike and I use basically to search the internet anonymously. We check our emails, we download, we conversate. We do cool things like avoid Reddit bans and video game bans and things of that nature. When you make a purchase there, it gives you the same privacy that Mike and I get. It's $39.95 and covers 5 computers. But part of that purchase funds what we do here at the Rundown Live. So check that out. Let's not forget, privacy is freedom. I also wanted to mention something exciting we're doing here at the Rundown Live. For all those people that are interested in getting Rundown Live merch, we now have a way. We started an Indiegogo campaign that to raise $500 basically to start our merch store. And we have some cool items available in the Indiegogo campaign. So make sure you guys stop by there. Make a purchase, even if it's bumper stickers for $5 or T-shirts. We have those there. You can pre-order them. Check them out. They're sexy. We're available in male and female. And those purchases will help jumpstart our store. And we're not really making money on this. We're just trying to get the information out there and use it for advertising and let people know about the rundownlive.com. Also, I want to thank our syndication through FPRN, Daily Paul, Conspiracy Wire, and Wide Awake America. Those are some the better outlets out there that we're on, so definitely check those out. We're always growing, and if you want to hear the Rundown Live on your local radio station, call them, let them know, and if there's a platform you want to hear us on, get a hold of us. Show tips at therundownlive.com. In fact, you can send us emails during the show or even send us messages on Twitter during the show on Rundown Live. We're
using the Twitter a lot more now, too. We weren't as active, but we're starting to use the Twitter a lot more. I log on there, and I know Kristan likes to log on there. And, Twitter is the new Facebook, just like, MySpace got kicked out. Twitter is eventually going to take over, and that's just, then there'll be something else in the future, and everybody will just migrate over to that and accept it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you're going to see different variations, and I'm curious to see what kind of platforms are developed for the future. As we know, there's a lot of investment into Facebook, but that can only last so long, especially with how less and less free and the more regulated a lot of these social media networks are getting. And speaking of which, I wrote an article today about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which actually has hidden backdoor Trojans with SOPA and PIPA and everything that we've been trying to prevent, allowing them to regulate the internet. So maybe we can get into that a little bit.
Well, right, and our friend Miles Kristan actually ran across Mary Burke and got to ask her about that.
And she had no clue. She had no opinion on the subject.
Yet she met with the president about that.
Well, isn't that interesting? And she was worried about the job loss, because what it would allow the internet to do when it is regulated is people like the Rundown Live who make money on banner ads, we would have to pay for a license in order to have banner ads on our website, and the license would cost more than the money we make. That's actually allows us to run the operation. So basically, we're going to snuff out a bunch of new innovative ideas and internet businesses. So it's very interesting to see the direction that this Trans-Pacific Partnership will go. I'm kind of curious. There's so much regulation hidden in it, and as we know from the WikiLeaks documents that not only that, it can affect our medication costs and takes power away from Congress, giving them to powerful corporations.
Well, it's really a global system. That's what it leads to. And I did want to mention we are bringing on Brian Sovryn, host of Sovryn Tech, tech guy, Bitcoin guy. We definitely wanted to get him on. It's been a while. First time on the show. Brian Sovryn, are you there with us, man?
How's it going, Brian?
Hey, guys, I'm here.
Hey, how you doing tonight, man?
Oh, excellent, excellent. Real honor to be on the show. I really like your show because I know the two of you don't always agree on everything, and I really appreciate shows that aren't an echo chamber because there's so much of that.
Well, that's the great thing about the show. We all don't always have to agree, and that's why we brought you on, because we wanted to get your opinions.
And you have to have those conversations because, to be honest, you can't make an educated decision unless you hear both sides, because I can tell you that even though I might have started out further down the right path, I've become more centric in many ways by having these debates and by having these conversations and doing investigation for my own to find out what is true and what is not. So it is very important to have debating conversations, and get different viewpoints.
Absolutely.
So, Brian, why don't you give us a little background, since you've never been on before? I know I kind of briefly mentioned, obviously, you get into Bitcoin technology. As you say, you like to cover nerd stories sometimes on your podcast, and, that's cool. We cover a lot of the nerd stories around here, so that's, an interesting thing to get into. So why don't you just kind of let us know, how did you even come across this information? Were you always, like, an anarchist kind of guy? Were you, like, a bad kid? Or, how did you come to these principles?
Yeah, boy. Well, let's see. I actually, the first real foray into here, I was in the military. And in fact, I know you guys, I don't know if you're both truthers or if you're truthers at all, but ironically, the truther movement is actually what got me into the military. And then finding out, getting out of the military, I actually got out of the military early. I was in the Army, and I was actually in 2003, and in a little bit into 2002 and 2003, I served, and I got out then. But it was kind of weird, because I had heard people. When I had heard people, obviously, I lived in New York. I grew up, I was born, I guess I'm ethnically Jewish, you could say. I'm not religious. I'm an atheist now. But I had heard, that kind of thing going around, and I said, what is this? And then even, in fact, honestly, I had heard people say, and I know you guys don't say this kind of thing, but I had heard a lot of people say that, the Jews are behind this. They all took the day off. None of them showed up at the World Trade Center. And I was absolutely livid about it, because I knew people that died during 9/11. And so I ended up joining the military because I really wanted to get some revenge, for what happened. But then I went over, to Afghanistan and Iraq, and I realized, that maybe the story going around really wasn't, the real deal. It wasn't the truth. And when I realized that, eventually my principals caught up with me, and I said, I'm not going to kill anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And so then I got out of the military, and really it just ended up kind of, going from there, finding out that, I don't necessarily believe the government was behind 9/11, but I certainly I know for a fact we don't know the whole story. I mean, there's a whole bunch of sketchiness around that.
Right, absolutely.
And so, yeah. And so that kind of led me down, just learning about, but then there was Ron Paul. I was a constitutionalist for a while, and then, eventually you get to anarchy. And that's really, there's kind of like the old saying that, how long does it take a constitutionalist to become an anarchist? about 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, when they
discover the joke that goes around.
Right, the difference between a minarchist and an anarchist, right? And I struggled with that for a long time, and I know that's what me and Kristan debate about all the time on the show. What would life be like without government the way it is in this current paradigm? And it's up to debate because we really haven't had that situation, have we?
Well, and I think that you'll always need some form of government, either self-governance or some kind of representation voted on, because I don't think people are just going to allow people to assume positions or want people that just assume their positions. Like back in the day, they had a sheriff, and he was voluntary, and he assumed that position, but nowadays, I think that a lot of people would like to elect their sheriff. What's your opinion on the whole system on that?
As far as electing people, or
do you think that with anarchism there'd still be elections? What would be the situation? Like, how would we get representation globally? Let's say foreign policy and things of that nature. It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, no, I agree. It really, for me, it comes down to, does a person think, do you think that humans, do you think they're inherently evil, or do you think they're inherently good? And generally, the answer to that question really shows you what a person maybe wants in their life or in their lifestyle or for their own liberty. And if you think that humans are inherently good, or at least neutral, then I think that you might get to the point where there might not need to be any hierarchies. But of course, if you think people are inherently evil, then I can see where everybody's like, look, you got to have somebody in charge. I mean, there's no way around it, I am of the opinion that people are at least inherently neutral, but we've dealt with governments and various other forms of domination structures, and we have such a domination culture that I don't know if the world could ever really, if the entire planet could ever really see an anarchist society. I'll admit that. I think it might just be pockets here and there where it could exist. That's part of the reason I moved to New Hampshire in 2011 for the Free State Project, just because of that idea that I think intentional communities are really one of the rare ways that we're going to be able to get actual liberty in our lifetime. But I don't know that any leaders are necessary, but at the same time, I recognize that takes a really fundamental change perhaps in human thought. And then how do you change that? Yeah, I'm still figuring that part out.
Well, education, that's how the elite do it,
sure,
right? They 10 years and they have everyone's mindset changed. It's through propaganda and everything else. And I do find it very interesting to see what a world would be like. But I was wondering, with all the failed government systems, you think there'd be corporations out there with small pockets investing in let's make this area an anarchist society, this a communist, this a libertarian, and see which one flourishes, to see which operation is best for mankind, because there's a lot of debate when it comes to all the different types of, pure forms of government, and you would think that somebody would be interested to see what a libertarian United States would be, at least in small pockets for a test run.
Right.
Or a true free market,
Yeah, I think that's actually what a lot of, especially in the tech realm, I think that's what a lot of people want. Larry Page at Google I/O in 2013 made a pretty famous speech where he said that there needs to be places that don't fall under regulation. Now, Larry Page, and I have this on pretty much secondhand information, Larry Page is no libertarian. Actually, Declan McCullough, who's a great reporter, he had a conversation with me, and Declan McCullough's had Larry Page in his house, and Declan's a popular libertarian, works for CNET. And, Larry Page, so there's no libertarian there. So I don't think they want to necessarily maybe try an anarchist society, but certainly there's plenty of these people that do want to try what can we do where there's a society with a different set of rules. Google definitely wants that. I think Apple wants that. I think a lot of these companies are really, a lot of these big companies are definitely sizing up for having their, the world their own way. You have Tim Draper, who's trying to split California into 6 separate states. And so, I think you're right that, it's amazing that someone hasn't tried that yet, but I think they really are, that at least they're starting to.
Well, right, and I heard you talking about this on your last podcast with Apple creating their wallet system and basically leading even into like their own money and financing. This is an interesting time where, if they create their own currency, why not have their own city or, country? Why not? They might as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, I mean, a lot of the big tech companies, they're really all trying to create their own ecosystems that you at least exist digitally within those. Like Amazon wants you to be part of Amazon's world. And I think a lot of people they forget about Amazon because they just think Amazon's so benign that, the package just shows up on your door and everything's okay. But Amazon very much is in place to take over, retail in general. And then, once you have retail, I mean, how much control do you have over finance in general, perhaps?
Well, they just built the drone facility here locally in the suburbs of Milwaukee, one of the first drone facilities of Amazon.
Yeah, the Amazon.com one, right? They're gonna actually use the drones to deliver stuff. And I can't wait till somebody hacks one of those and delivers like a TV to their own house,
Yeah. The drone thing, Google's trying the same thing where they're trying to deliver stuff by drones. I can't imagine how that's going to work. I still don't know. I mean,
you're still a conspiracy theorist, Brian, if you believe in drones, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really that's pretty wild. But yeah, all these guys are trying to create their own ecosystems, and I think at some point, I don't think it's outlandish to think, especially even when you have Google who's developing artificial intelligence and things of that nature, to say that maybe they do kind of want to take over the world. I mean, I know a lot of people might think that sounds really nuts. But they're placing themselves in every aspect of your life. They know more about you oftentimes than you do yourself. And so, I wonder.
And they're just as powerful as a United States government when they're the ones providing them with all the technology that they're using. They have the ability to use this technology as well. And they are the ones who developed it for the most part. They just get contracted out to the government. So, I mean,
sure.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they would want their own society, and they have the finances to do it as well. Not the average corporation or the average person can just, be like Peter Thiel and go have an island or go make a country.
Yeah, absolutely. But then at the same time, I mean, government's what allows these kind of monopolies or these kind of, these huge corporations really to exist. Because without them, without even, and that's government, in my opinion, at any level, be it, the smallest level to the highest, because without them, I don't think a large company can could literally compete with a mom and pop store that knows everybody on the street. I mean, and there's a lot of writings on this, writings by guys like Kevin Carson and others, where it really shows that the efficiency exists best as on the smallest possible level as you can make it. And I would think if government wasn't around for these companies to lobby to, and boy, do they. I mean, Google lobbies, Apple lobbies, all these big companies, lobby to the government all the time. In fact, I have it on some degree of authority that Google lobbies pretty hard against Bitcoin, interestingly enough. That, if they didn't have that power, that the smaller companies, your local stores could really, I think they'd outcompete them in a heartbeat. So government really also, it's this ugly hybrid.
Well, and especially with the internet and social media and all this technology being developed, it kind of levels the playing field where a mom and pop store can sell things from the shop directly to the home and people can just pick it up, where they didn't have that kind of convenience. Everything was kind of outdated before. Now all you need is an iPad or something and you have a mobile store,
Sure. And I think that's something, I know you guys were talking about social media and how it always changes. You always have this game changer that comes in down the line, how Twitter's taking over from where Facebook was and all. And I think that's pretty insightful. But I think really the next thing coming is where social media does get relocalized to where people are, where the social network will be closer to, I don't know if you remember, in the 90s, the big thing was bulletin board systems. This is before the internet became the monstrosity that it is, where everything was being done very local. And you honestly, you even knew the people that you were talking to, even though you're talking to them over a phone line, with text. I think that's a direction that things are really going to start shifting towards, because I feel like in human nature, you recognize that the internet in its large scope, I mean, and it's great that, guys like you, both of you and myself, that we can get our voice out, to hundreds or thousands of people or however many people, all around the world. But at the same time, I think people are dying for that human connection again. And I think that's where a lot of the hatred for Facebook comes from. I mean, who doesn't hate Facebook, right?
Right. Well, not only the spying, but there's a lot of junk on there.
Well,
too.
if people hate it so much, why do they use it?
They're addicted, Kristan.
Is that it? Is it an addiction?
I think sure it's an addiction. And honestly, at the end of the day, Facebook's and in fact, what keeps people on Facebook is actually the local aspect. There's a great hacker out there, a great guy, Jacob Applebaum, who will come right out and say, it's like, look, the reason people use Facebook is because it gives them the chance to get it on with their neighbor. I mean, that's, it's just sex driving people, honestly. And I don't think that's unfair of him to say is that, that it gives you the chance to get laid. And, but that's
is that such a bad thing? I mean, come on.
Not at all. Not in my book, man. Because, I mean, for me, the one thing, in my opinion, the one thing more dangerous than government is like a real conservatism. I'm terrified of social laws more than I am of actual, like, laws on the books.
Well, we've seen those work very well, haven't we? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Facebook, certainly there's an addiction, there's the network effect, but, yes, things can still supplant something that seems so pervasive. I mean, you look at MySpace, had 10 times the popularity and viability when Facebook, came on the stage, and, look where we are now. So certainly something will upstage it. In my opinion, it'll go back to something being more local, and that'll be good because when you get more local, you take a site like 4chan. 4chan's actually designed, like I mentioned, BBS's bulletin board systems, where it's kind of a decentralized network. 4chan's really based around that idea, and that's what allows for anonymity on there. And so I think, if people, like you said, educate people, when you get to that very decentralized notion and where everything gets smaller and more local, you get that anonymity back, and also you get real human connection, which, whether people realize it or not, right now, I think they are starting to slowly come to the point that they want to actually touch people, instead of.
I also grew up with like Telnet and IRC and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, I made a lot of friends local and around the world that,
Sure.
you would have never made otherwise. So it's
back in my day, we had AOL Instant Messenger.
we had that too, right. It just kind of sucks that, like, I would have thought those technologies. I know people that still go on IRC. It's just not the way it used to be, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I was just going down memory lane there, thinking about awesome old technologies. You're talking about 4chan, and I just remember like someone asking me like years ago. I was in my parents' basement, and I get this message, and they're like, "Are you B?" And I'm like, "I don't know what this means."
ASL. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, "Are you B?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, "Oh, then you must go to this site." And then you go check out 4chan. For the people that don't know, which I'm sure there are a few.
ESL?
Yeah. Kristan, do you even know about 4chan? I don't even think Kristan knows about 4chan.
That would be after my time. I was on the Yahoo Messenger AOL.
It was like the underbelly of the interweb, and it kind of still is. It's a little more censored now. It's not the same as it used to be, but it's still there, and it's still kind of anonymous.
Yeah. I mean, and now it's in the news again because of what happened with all these celebrity nudes, nude selfie
I
leaks
heard about
that have happened recently.
Right.
Yeah, and that's an interesting story. I mean, it really, it's really a commentary on our society in general, I think, because, most people are like, okay, well, we really shouldn't be seeing these. These were private. These are for someone else. But then, of course, they have no problem with the NSA spying, on us right and left, or even having access to the same information. But also, I mean, like I mentioned about, this kind of the social mores, the social laws that are out there, really, the fact that a woman taking a picture of herself nude is like such a problem. I mean, everybody can have their privacy and it's all up to anyone's own taste, of course, but so what? It's like, it's the human body. It's beautiful. Let's let it ride. It's okay. I mean, if they didn't want it out there, of course, that's a completely different story. But the fact that it's considered such a problem, I don't know.
Well, I know I saw those Kate Upton pics. I know I saw those. But I'm like, at what point do you ask if these people made a bad choice by uploading these kind of pictures to their own cell phone device where they should know that?
System?
Yeah,
Wasn't it
well,
like a
allegedly,
sharing system,
allegedly.
Like Mike,
there's really no one really knows where these came from. There's as far as where they actually got them. I mean, people are saying yes, it was from iCloud, which is Apple's cloud service, and a lot of people came out and started saying, "See, this is why you shouldn't put stuff on the cloud." And I'll be the first person to say that, you don't want to trust the cloud at all. But at the same time, we don't really know where they came from. But I don't feel as a society, or as human beings that we should go so nuts about nudity. You know what I mean? Let's respect, beautiful, beauty for what it is.
Do you think women should be able to go topless like men because they're no different than men? There's groups.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I absolutely think so.
No argument there.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have a problem with that.
If people want to go around nude, let them go around nude. I mean, honestly, now I understand some people would say that somehow that's, or that somehow it's aggressing on you because you saw someone, perhaps that you didn't find attractive.
I just don't want to be at church and see the girl next to me wearing nothing on except for, a pair of pants.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Is it the nudity or is it the invasion of the privacy that's the problem? Because in my eyes, it's the invasion of privacy. How did anybody even get these pictures? The nudity is just like the result. You just got those pictures because of the invasion of privacy.
Yeah, I think the invasion of privacy obviously is a real issue. But again, not a lot of people, in the mainstream are complaining about the same invasion of privacy that governments do to us every day. So that's where I feel like the contradiction exists.
Right. And you see it all the time. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Surveillance Cameraman. He's on YouTube and he gets millions of views and he walks around local cities and just films people in public and they get so angry and upset. And it's just like, you're being filmed all the time in public, but when a guy comes and holds a cell phone next to you, you want to fight him and you want to, chase him around. But like Brian says, the government's doing that all day, 24 hours a day, and you don't even think twice about it. You don't even, ask why.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, it's amazing what people will let go of to have their security, whatever that means.
So, technology is an important thing. I know we talk about robots and all the new weapon advancements that the military is getting and Stingray technology, so they're listening to all our phone calls and stuff. It doesn't seem like technology is as fair as it should be. It seems like technology should be a neutral thing to help humanity, but a lot of it is being used to, put us in this prison-like, grid-like Skynet system.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I know a lot of people want to use the phrase panopticon, which of course
that's
comes
news
from,
to me. That's a new one.
Yeah, okay. Well, that comes from Michael Foucault, and the idea is this panopticon is this prison, and I mean this is a mental game, but it's a prison where only the jailers can see both ways, and so the prisoners can't see the jailers, but the jailers can see everything that's going on both ways. And so that's the idea, is that, we don't have access to the surveillance technologies that the government has, like Oakland setting up, 600 cameras around the city, things like that. But I think we are seeing, ironically, that there was recently, I don't know if you guys talked about this, but there was a hashtag MyNYPD on Twitter.
I do remember that, and they also had billboards all around the city, and there's an artist that did a satire piece, and they put them in. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, so when they did hashtag MyNYPD, that was, the New York Police Department said, send us pictures and use this hashtag on Twitter of your great, interactions with the boys in blue. And when they did that, people just, sent up all this, police brutality videos and pictures. I mean, it was, horrifying to see, but fantastic, to get that info out there, especially at the behest, of the police department itself. And so I don't think we actually have panopticon to where we can't show at the same time what the government's doing. I don't think that's accurate. But certainly at the end of the day, the government definitely has, government and corporations, that unholy alliance of corporatism definitely has the upper hand. And, to where they, they have the technological edge that we just can't even
Well, what
imagine.
are they even using the surveillance society and surveillance system for? Because they're not using it to prevent crime catch rapists or catch pedophiles,
No, they're not.
or they're not using it for that stuff because you don't see them going after anyone for that. You see them going after patriots and things of that nature, like Brandon Raub.
Sure, yeah, great point. No, it's true. In fact, actually, the CEO of Ford had said last year that they know every crime that gets committed because of all the technology that exists within cars. And he tried to retract that later, and some people made sure that got put into context, but he was being quite serious, that they know, they pretty much know everything that's going on. And that's the interesting thing, is that if the government and, whoever else, whatever other supposedly benevolent people, were interested in actually keeping everybody safe, you would think almost they could pull it off. That they have all this technology that could do it, where they do know everything that's going on. So certainly it's not for that. I think it's very fair to say that it's all about control. It's all about keeping people under control.
So do you think that this is like an idea of like a globalist society? Do you think like they're shooting for like a population reduction? I know I heard you talking about Kurzweil in 2045. They think that
Georgia Guidestones, baby, Georgia Guidestones.
Well, those are interesting,
right?
Yeah,
and
you can only, what does that say? 500,000,
right?
500 million. 500 million.
Yeah, that's it.
And just the idea of, man merging with machine, and they're already saying by 2020 robots will be smarter than humans, by 2045 merging. And I know
I'm sure they already have all that, though, Mike, considering that they're telling us when it's coming out.
How
that means
far
that they've
behind we are, right?
Yeah, well, it's okay. So the depopulation idea, this is an interesting one that I don't really have a good answer on, because do you remember the movie They Live? I know that gets used a lot.
Absolutely, that's a great classic, right?
Yeah, I love that film.
Put on the glasses! No! Put on the glasses! No!
Right, yeah. So Roddy Piper puts on the glasses and he can see all of the subliminal messages like obey and all this stuff. It's very popular memes. The one that nobody ever really thinks about, or that everybody seems to miss, is one of the subliminal messages getting sent to society to keep it under control is to marry and reproduce. And he sees that on the billboards and wherever else. And so, I have a hard time believing that they necessarily want depopulation, because I think in a lot of ways there is what one could term the marriage industrial complex.
Well, the cattle, we're like cattle, and they always need fresh new cattle, right?
Yeah, I mean, they always need somebody, somebody's got to clean the toilets for them. Somebody's got to, they got to get their tax dollars from somewhere, whatever. So I don't know if depopulation is necessarily a goal. Now, the Georgia Guidestones, of course, if that's something that was put in place by they, them, those, whoever they happen to be, then yeah, that makes you wonder, right? But
a little light has been shed on that situation, right? Our buddy over at America on Earth, Scott Walter, he actually went in and tried to find out who actually purchased the stones, and he was able to get some information. It was actually put there by a born-again Christian as a warning, a really rich businessman. And I'm curious to see if maybe this guy had some inside knowledge on what was happening with the elite, and he was using it. I doubt it that this is the reason why, but using it to create awareness, because it's set up with archaeoastronomy, which is basically lined up to kind of align with the summer solstice, the spring solstice, and things of that nature. There's a lot of
it's supposed
historical
to be a calendar system. Right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But as far as like with the transhumanist technologies, I do question. I understand like the idea if they're telling us about it, if people are talking about it, that means they've already built it. I really have to wonder, because when it comes to transhumanism, first off, I like the idea of living for a really long time. I imagine everybody does, right? But at the same time, if there's going to be governments, if there's going to be, domination structures that could pull the switch, on a rope, it's one of the reasons I'm an anarchist. But at the same time, I have to wonder, because we know so little about consciousness itself. I do have to wonder if you can just upload a person's memory engrams or whatever into a machine, into a circuit board or whatever, into a hard drive, and that you're going to actually still have the person. So I'm kind of up to debate on whether or not any of that is really out there.
We've had that same debate on the Rundown.
Debate whether technology is a natural phenomenon created by humans. You know what I mean? Like, honey is created by bees, and humans created technology, and maybe it's a natural evolution.
Well, and you see these people out there on your piggyback on what you're saying here, Brian, like Natasha Vita Moore, who are saying that they can actually download thoughts. And it was funny that the announcement came that they could actually download memories and install memories in the lab rats right when that military guy only spoke Swedish. Remember that?
Yeah,
He came out and he could only speak Swedish, but all his passport and everything was American. And my curiosity has to be sparked by something of that kind of gigantic coincidence that they just learned that they can install memories and download memories. And then you have this Marine who not only speaks Swedish, he wakes up one day in a hotel and that's all he can remember is how to speak it. And he's not Swedish at all.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I should kind of edit that a bit, because maybe we can put like the actual thoughts and memories up. But I do wonder if, I think one of the things that makes us human, or one of the things that makes anything alive, and speaking of rats, in fact, rats have this as well, is our capacity for empathy. And I wonder if empathy doesn't come, or to some degree, if it doesn't come from somewhere else, because what we do, I mean, because we don't know, admittedly, you talk to a neuroscientist, they don't know that consciousness necessarily sits in the brain or where it actually all comes from. That's my understanding of it. And there's some groups, Institute of Heart Math, there's some others that talk about the idea that the heart, emits an electromagnetic field, and that electromagnetic field, by their theory, actually affects the way we think. And so, what happens when you remove the heart, away from the actual thoughts? And so I think it's a debate. I'm glad you guys have had that debate.
Well, that's a great point there. What happens once you clone yourself a new body and reinstall the memories of that old person? Is that person still the same? Does that soul travel with that new body since it's just memories and data? Or is
you believe in a soul.
Well, I believe in a soul. I guess not everyone may believe in a soul, but I do believe that there's energy or some things, and we see that with the paranormal, that there is some kind of
life force, energy.
Something lives, after we're done, and we don't know exactly how to explain it, maybe scientifically yet. But I do think that it's an interesting debate. I don't think somebody would be normal. Imagine if your brother died and they're like, oh, no problem, we got him saved and I'm back up. Give us a day, and then your brother pops back out. Is he going to be normal? Is he going to be the same guy,
Yeah, I don't know. Certainly when you go putting all that into a machine, I heavily debate how human what is there. So
it just seems like it's going to be inevitable going that direction, that technology and man are eventually going to merge. It just seems like it's going to be hard to stop that unless some type of catastrophic event happens again and technology becomes irrelevant. But if they can somehow maintain this current paradigm, this current system, it just seems like naturally we would progress into some system. It's already occurring. People are merging with machines all the time. There's hearts on the outside of Cheney's body. People got mechanical legs and implants in their brains and ears and eyes. So, I mean, it's already happening.
Skeletons,
right?
Yeah. Cameras.
Sure. And it's unfortunate because a lot of those, like what people would see as the positives and the needs. Yeah, right. I mean, but a lot of these things that people see the necessity for a lot of this technology could really be solved just by, if people paid more attention to diet, if they were just a little more, preemptive with their health, more than anything. And really that's one of the things that people can do so easily is if you pay attention to your health, it's something, I mean, you look at like healthcare, you look at Obamacare and all this stuff, so many of these control structures that exist out there honestly control you through the fact of, bad health at certain points. So if people worked on being healthy, I think you could get a lot of real personal freedom from that, be it from the technology, be it from governments, be it from whatever.
Well, what's your take on GMOs? Do you think that that's a positive tech change, or not necessarily like Monsanto, but GMOs in general?
It's a good question. I'm kind of big on the idea of biodiversity, and I think when you mess with biodiversity, you are messing with, you're messing with a lot of things that keep us alive and well. And so, a lot of these GMOs, they've said where even if, one person plants GMOs on this farm over here, the GMOs will eventually take over the crops on the other farm, right next door. I think that's a terrible thing. So I don't.
And they can sue you for copyright infringement.
Exactly,
for growing
because
their
you
crop.
have it for not buying it from them.
Right,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Well, now they're even talking about putting vaccinations inside the food using nanotech. I mean, how much nanotech can we actually put into things like genetically modified foods? Isn't it all it is all nanotech?
And shouldn't that be an option of a sovereign being, of a person, whether you ingest a medicine or a vaccine? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be an option, and it's not. And that's, I agree. I think it's scary, and it's even more scary because one of the things that I feel with technology in general. And I mean, I do a tech show, so I'm a very pro technology guy. But at the same time, when you think about the fact that humans clearly don't get it, they don't get life, because how many millions of people are dying, every single day because of wars and whatever other violent forms out there. It's terrifying to think that somehow they want to mess with the human genome at all, or mess with any genomes for that matter. What is their incentives in doing that? It all becomes, it does create a pretty terrifying picture, I think.
And it almost forces you into that transhumanistic life, because what if you do kill off the the original genomes and the only true life, if you're altered it too much that it will never come back, you're stuck in this alternate reality that was, what do they call it? It's like fake biology. I forgot there's a word for it, but it's like a secondary biology.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, at that point, yeah, you would be forced to. It's like, look, no, guess what? This planet as it is right now can't support life the way it is. You're going to have to get put into a machine or something like that.
It literally is the Matrix.
Yeah, and you think about things, and there's certain things out there that are pretty real, like EMPs, electromagnetic pulse, that affect machinery. I mean, nothing can answer that. I mean, one of the areas I've always wanted transhumanism to go is to go, into and I mean, people can agree or disagree on this, of course, but I would much rather be growing technology than I would be building it, having organic machines. I think that's a far more interesting way to go.
Well, what do you mean by that? You want to go into 3D
natural
printing,
bacteria and
what do
things
you
like
mean?
that?
Yeah.
Well, the idea would be, certain 3D printing is one of those possibilities. I mean, that's obviously one of the most exciting technologies out there. I think it's more exciting than Bitcoin, because that puts the means of production in the hands of the people. But with organic machines, what I mean is designing, with humans, as far as, let's just use the transhumanist example at first. I think it would be far easier to just take out a person's brain and put that into essentially, maybe more of a cloned body. Now you have, millions of, neuron connections that have to be there for the brain to work exactly, because your brain and body grows together and it connects in such a certain way. But I would think that'd be far easier to make that happen, and far more safe and secure, because you could still have your own autonomy. You wouldn't have to worry about EMPs, or you wouldn't have to worry about, somebody hitting you with an off switch, or things of that nature. That I think that's the more interesting way to go. And also, again, like we mentioned with, or like I mentioned with biodiversity, to where technology really shouldn't supplant what's around it. It should just kind of exist within it. It should meld in with it. And that's an idea that humans have had for a very long time. Houses used to have to really, humans just kind of inherently knew it. Like, the house that you built had to kind of match in with where you were, things like that. The whole idea of that humans want to conquer nature, and I know this is a pretty popular idea even in liberty circles, I think that's pretty dangerous to want to mess with. So I would like to see, technology where it's actually, in fact, actually recently they found bacteria that literally feeds on electrons. And scientists, they came right out and said, hey, we could grow Ethernet cables. This is the cables that connect the internet. We could just grow them along the seabed. I mean, how much better would that be than, having to go through all the crap that it takes to lay out lines? I mean, this stuff would be self-repairing.
So you're telling me they would have some organism that would grow that would be able to carry internet through it?
Exactly.
That is insane.
Right. It's a wild thought, but that's the thing, is that no one's really trying it. But it seems like especially now that we know that there's bacteria that could live off of electrons.
But does that make internet alive, Brian? I'm serious. I mean, in a way,
And what does that mean for robots? You know, and robotic, and you're going to have a living tissue mixed in with robotic nano tissue.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. To think about. I mean, this is definitely like the far out stuff.
Will we be able to regenerate limbs then? You know?
Well, that would be like that's the amazing thing. Everybody is so in awe today, about what we can do technologically, and it is incredible. But when you think about the fact that when you accidentally cut your finger and it heals itself in a pretty short order, no technology does that. No technology is that good. Yeah, they're making nanobots that might be able to pull that off in the near future, sure. But by and large,
and
it's still
unscratchable paint on cars too.
Yeah, right. But by and large, a biological organism's ability to repair itself is phenomenal, and its sustainability and its reliability, its redundant systems are, blow away anything we've ever tried to do technologically, in my opinion. And I think that that's a lot easier to replicate than to try and keep, making all these, machines that just mimic what you could effectively, birth or grow. And I know that sounds nuts, but anyway, we went there.
Yeah, and we've had articles about 3D printing drones that print other drones, like a mothership. What was it, Kristan?
It was basically they're working on a 3D printing drone that can print a drone for any task at hand on the spot. So if you need somebody rescued, you can print a drone.
It fly
around, pick up people, or create tools, and they're mounted with lasers and things like that, of course, for your safety.
Yes, it's always for safety.
Sure, and that's the thing. Great technology always copies nature. It really does. In fact, there's a great tech coming out called MadeSafe, which I know you had Derek J on recently, and I think he mentioned MadeSafe. And this is really an internet replacement where it does everything decentralized. There's no servers, because servers really create a central point of failure. And the thing is when you look in nature, there is no such thing as a central point of failure. It's not there in any shape or form. And so that really kind of comes back around to the idea of governments really creating these technologies that actually harm life more so, or government and corporations, again, that corporatism, actually create technology overall that really harms life and doesn't actually enhance it to where we grow, as humans.
And we know that there are people that try to develop good things, and there are good companies like Tesla who give away their patents and are actually trying to make progress, but they're usually stifled or out-regulated or put out of business.
Yeah, no, that's true. There are good companies out there. Tesla's that's kind of a funny story, because I know a lot of people got excited about that one, but most people don't know actually with Tesla. I guess I'm kind of sidetracking here, but Volvo in the 60s did the same thing where they released a bunch of patents. And a lot of people were very excited about this, but the reason that they put out the patents was because they needed other companies to adopt the new technologies they were making, so that what they were doing was even viable. So I don't know if Elon Musk is being such a nice guy and releasing the patents. I think he's releasing them so that the infrastructure can exist for the cars that he wants to make. So there might just be a lot of self-interest there. I don't know if he's being so altruistic, if you know what I mean. But that's besides the point.
There might be some financial interest there, of course. Well,
yeah.
And just the idea of, trying to give away the information, I guess, is good. But then again, there's motive for everything. And also, I did want to let you know, we are coming up here to the end, and we do appreciate you coming on, Brian. I want to make sure you can let people know where to find your podcast, any websites, anything you want us to know before we let you go, man.
Oh, absolutely. You can, of course, you can go to sovryntech.com, and that's SOVRYN, tech.com, and you can check out my show there. Also, I am on Free Talk Live, which is just about I think maybe the largest libertarian radio show out there. It's on over 165 stations. I'm on that every Sunday night, and you can go to freetalklive.com to listen to that. I think that about covers it. You can find me on Twitter at Sovryn Tech as well.
I appreciate you even coming to hang out with us, man. We always like talking about the robots and stuff. I know we didn't even really get into, like, the police state style K5 night scope that's going to be running around like R2-D2 telling on people.
It's just crazy to talk and let people know, though, that they can erase memories and implant memories. How bizarre is that?
It's all real. It's all real. We're not, we're not making this up, guys. You can all
these technologies are out there.
Right,
you're absolutely right. It was great being on, guys. I really enjoyed it. Boy, the time did go fast, but it was wonderful.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brian. We're always all over the place. Anytime, you're welcome back. Brian Sovryn, SovrynTech.com. Make sure you guys check it out. Free Talk Live as well. Anything else, man, before we let you go?
No, that's it. Thanks again.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks.
Brian Sovryn, everybody, SovrynTech.com.
Awesome conversation.
Yeah, just awesome conversation as per usual. Like we said earlier in the show, me and Kristan, we like talking technology, and we seem to have taken a knack to covering that, along with like the police state and government,
ancient history amongst many other things.
Yeah, right. But technology has been one of the main topics we cover. It seems like it comes up quite a bit, and maybe that's because we're both interested in it, and we want to get that information out there. And obviously, Brian's interested in it. We don't see a lot of tech-based podcasts, and his is really tech-based. We cover articles like occasionally. He covers tech the whole show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that, and that's very interesting. I think that he does a great job over there, and it brings another perspective. You got to really have these debates like he mentioned earlier on, and it's really good that people get educated on how advanced we really are, because I think that a lot of people don't realize how advanced we are as a society, and that a lot of the technology that we're seeing today has been out for 50 years,
Right, and, there are some other things I wanted to ask him about, like some of the symbolism and maybe some of his other beliefs, but, we'll save that for next time.
We'll have to get him on again. Yeah. And we got a lot of guests coming up that are old guests, like Rosa
Friends
Corey.
of the show. Did we get her back? Did you get her?
Yeah, she's going to be coming back. She isn't going to be able to make it with us tomorrow, guys. I apologize.
Well, we have Corey Washington and Julio coming on tomorrow.
So that should be an exciting phone conversation, and we should be able to have a great time on the show tomorrow. Make sure you guys tune in with that.
Average Liberator and JN Reports. I'm sure we'll be having a good time. Also, I think I'm going to try to get Derek Bros to call in as well, because we're getting close to 9/11 and the anniversary, and they have a activity planned on Ground Zero in NYC on 9/11.
Oh, very interesting.
So hopefully we get to talk to all three of those guys tomorrow, since Rosa's not coming on.
Yeah, it sounds like tomorrow's going to be a great episode. Make sure you guys...
It always is a great episode.
Are we going to have open lines tomorrow or not?
Yes, we will open up the lines, as well as have all our friends on the show tomorrow. So if you guys want to call in, tomorrow's the day to do it, because like the rest of the month is booked. We have guys like Joey Vincent, Austin Thomas, Lee Camp,
Murphy,
Dan Badandi, Michael Murphy, so many awesome guests. Adam Kokesh is coming back on. He didn't get enough of the Rundown Live, and he has to come back to break some news on the Rundown here in a couple weeks.
Right?
Yeah, so he hasn't even unveiled what he's going to talk about yet, so that'll be good. Breaking news on the Rundown. I think he's coming on the 18th. So we got an action-packed month. Kristan, the merch quake, if you guys want to help out, you want merch, bumper stickers, hoodies, shirts, we need your guys' help to get this stuff, and if you really want it, you got to go through the Indiegogo. That's how we're going to do it. But that being said, make sure you guys check out the Encore on FPRN Radio, FPRNradio.com. That's the Encore. Don't forget about Wide Awake America, wideawakeamerica.com/live. That's where you're going to see the other broadcasters like Corey Washington, the Average Liberator. He's live at 10 p.m. Anything else, Kristan, before we're out of here?
Just like you just mentioned, make sure you guys check out the merch quake. We really need you guys and your support to make this happen. This is how we plan on funding the operation. This is the birthing period, and we need your help giving birth. So get in there, deliver some Liberty babies, and support us with the merch quake.
I don't want any Liberty babies.
Hey, you might not want Liberty.
Not yet. No Liberty babies
maybe
for me.
After you look at some of those cloud pictures that are surfing around the internet, you might want to have some Liberty babies.
Oh, yeah, Kate Upton. Google
there
those.
You go. Ew.
No, but you make sure you guys check out the site, rundownlive.com. Download the app. If you want to help us out, we accept Bitcoin donations, PayPal. Share the site. Share the YouTube videos. There's a bunch of awesome stuff you haven't seen, like John B. Wells, Adam Kokesh, Andrew Weave. There's tons of awesome interviews that are like gold mine gems that have just been unseen on the internet. So make sure you guys check that out. I guess we're out here, Kristan, and then Julio and Corey tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys want to give us your news tips, send us at showtips@therundownlive.com. Don't forget the Rundown Live app is free on your Android phone and iPhone and tablet PC. So download those, download our past episodes, support us any way possible and let us know, guys. You guys have a good night. Thanks again.
Love you in the chat. We're back tomorrow. Open lines if you want to get it in tomorrow. RundownLive.com.
You just experienced Sovryn Tech. Go to sovryntech.com, that's SOVRYN tech.com, and connect with us there. Find links from today's show and catch our podcast feed. Sovryn Tech is copy heart. Copying art is an act of love, and love is not subject to law. So please share the show however you like. Welcome to the evolution.